So, hello everybody, and welcome to the Magical New Beginnings podcast. My name is Sharon King, and I am super happy to be speaking to the beautiful Lisa Barry. Welcome, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much for having me. I've been really looking forward to this. Very excited because we're such old friends and
We
colleagues.
are,
So
we
yeah,
are. I think we may have traveled many lifetimes together as well,
I think we absolutely have. So
and
yeah,
we have very similar passions in life as well. So, as you can all see, she's got the beautiful color mirror bottles behind her there. So, I think was it me that introduced you to the color mirror system?
it was absolutely. I think I used to work with color, especially when I first sort of got into energy therapies, healing for my own self-development and support. When I did my Reiki training and my angelic Reiki, and my lovely trainer and mentor used to live in Glastonbury. So she used to bring these lovely little sort of essences, um, sort of Kuan Yin and Lady Nada, and they were colored and everything. And so she introduced me to using the essential oils and color. So always have been interested in using them with, my work. But it was your good self that really introduced me to the color mirror system. So yeah, because with our EFT and matrix re-imprinting, and then Heal Your Birth, um, that yeah, all done the training with you. So yeah, and I remember it was the color in the matrix, because I'd seen you, using them, and obviously was getting to know them, and then loved how you integrated the color mirror system and color into matrix work. And so it was, I remember, down in Brighton, yeah, color in the matrix, and yeah, there was no going back. And I remember it was number 15, which was Satori. I mean, who doesn't want to be in that state of Satori, that bliss, that divine state? And it was super powerful because I'd recently lost my mother. And so it was wonderful to sort of look at all the bottles, um, and then really see where my energy was drawn. And oh gosh, it was like Aladdin's cave. It was like another world, as we know, isn't it? Very exciting. And I just really felt then that huge resonance with, wow, this is really spiritual. So yeah, so thank you, Sharon. Well, I thank you for so much, because you've always been such a lovely friend, but such a fabulous teacher and mentor, along my journey. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Bless you. Well, I know that you love to specialize working with mothers, and you have your own special journey that you've been on
Yep.
with motherhood and your son. So, would you mind just sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, I love working with mothers. That's my passion. And that's how I got into what I do now, as a mother on my own mothering journey. Um, I had a very carefree, I feel, looking back at my sort of childhood, and very secure, um, yeah, loving, sort of close-knit unit, my mum and dad together. Just, yeah, very emotionally available, a nurturer, and just a gorgeous mothering energy. Um, And so, yeah, it was, I always thought, right, yeah, really knew I wanted to have children, and couldn't wait to sort of become a mother when that day came. Always used to mother animals, another big passion of mine as well. And so, yes, I got married, and then had three children, and then it didn't, went all a bit pear-shaped, and I got divorced. And I feel that's when um, my first sort of spiritual awakening came,
Mm.
my when I was struggling, and friends recommended me to a hypnotherapist, to acupuncturist, Chinese medicine, kinesiologist. It was like suddenly all these things that I'd never experienced, heard of, but didn't experience, hadn't felt the need. So yeah, I just got blown away by those. So I felt that was sort of, the universe sort of introducing me, like this is my first little sort of thing on my soul's journey as a mother. And it so supported me. My children used to laugh and come into the kitchen when I was, boiling up these Chinese herbs, love the fact that they became aware of, another way of supporting ourselves, which was so lovely. And to this day, they're very open to all these things that, are available to us and that I love. So yeah, became a single mother. They were 4, 6, and 8. So it was, it was full on. Their father was pretty absent, pretty, has been really to this day. So it was full on. I had been a full-time mother, which had been lovely, but then, went back to work. So yeah, it was crazy, but we were very happy. And then children were getting older and we relocated for schools near actually where my parents lived. So that was really lovely because they were very supportive. Um, and so we had 2 lovely years, again, building our new sort of life. And I was thinking, yeah, I'm doing this pretty well, this single mother stuff, juggling balls. And then we were on holiday, staying at my brother's villa over in Spain, and I was by myself with the children, and we had a car accident, and it was, I feel, another sort of soul lessons that I've experienced, which is what I really specialize with working and supporting mothers, is the unexpected trauma. That sudden, it's not things that you sort of build up and you'll become aware of, and it's that rug under your feet kind of thing.
Yeah.
The divorce, how that happened, with my ex having affairs and lots of other stuff, that was sudden, unexpected, and then the accident was. So yeah, that was hugely traumatic. Obviously, there's so many threads I could go down that way to explain, but I haven't got time with all that now. But that was a huge spiritual awakening for me. That was like, okay, well, we gave you a little test before. Yeah, you've mastered that. Right, here's your next one, kind of thing. Of course, that's how I see it now. But then it wasn't as easy as that. I wasn't quite there yet. It was like, really? Again, oh, if we could have that awareness, at all these times, but then we wouldn't get all the lessons, would we, and the learnings,
No.
So yeah, that was hugely challenging. And my elder 2 children and myself, we all had various, if it was just us by ourselves at that point, serious sort of injuries. But my younger son, Benjamin, who was 9 at the time, he was really quite small, and he had a spinal cord injury. So, and we all got rushed off in different ambulances as well. So, as a mother, mother lion with her cubs, if they used to fall out of a tree or have this or that, you'd be there, or they go off to, the amount of times I was in hospital with my my elder son, things like that. And then suddenly this huge thing, and we were all separated. So separation is another thing that I think I resonate very well with mothers and understand what that feels like, and the trauma that incurs. So when I was sort of being patched up with my injuries, the doctor, I was sort of saying, where are all my children? And the doctor said, before he stitched my knee up and etc., well, your youngest son has just had life-saving surgery, and he's being flown to Barcelona and when one more thing, he'll probably never walk again. And he said it so casually, nonchalantly. And I remember, I can still see myself, as we do, like with, these memories. Luckily, we have all the tools we have, having gone back and changed it, or understood everything. But it's that primal sound, that came out, which I think the whole of that A&E area apparently heard. It's that gut-wrenching, A, with the news, and B, I wasn't there,
Yeah.
I mean, it was huge. There were so many different traumas going on all at one time, really. And of course, as the mother, I felt, well, I've got to be strong, got to be there for, for all of them. And especially, obviously, Florence and Oliver, the elder two that had their own serious injuries. And then when we realized, that Benjamin, wasn't, with us, he was, in Barcelona, it's that separation again. So I think separation is a big theme, on my soul's journey. And yeah, I guess long story short, I flew to Barcelona and was with him for a week before he could then fly home. And so I was separated then from the elder two. My sister-in-law came out to look after them because they couldn't fly home for a week. They weren't allowed to because of their injuries. But I was only allowed to see him in that hospital for, I think we were given something like 20 minutes a day. I mean, it was ridiculous. They didn't speak English, I mean, it was terrifying for him, bless him. And it's so interesting having conversations over the years with him. And he remembers not nobody being there, but he also remembers in the early days, probably the first day he arrived, having an MRI. And I think he probably did have an NDE experience because he said, because they nearly lost him 3 times getting over there in the, air ambulance, they said. And he said, I thought I had died. He said, I remember looking at myself thinking, on the light and thinking, I must have died, kind of thing. So again, I find that's really interesting. Again, I love color and numerology and looking at his life path. And again, as we know, their soul's choice. Do I come back, or do I stay home on the other side? So yeah, I mean, I think it's really fascinating because how he coped is incredible. I mean, he was always such a wise soul. You could just tell from when he was tiny and how he interacted with his friends. He just had this aura. And I think sometimes on a soul level, when you do have that choice, and speaking to people who've had NDEs, I think there is that, okay, well, I've chosen this, I understand what it's all about, and you approach things differently, perhaps, I think. And I think that's probably given him so much strength. Because I think people are always amazed. He never fussed, never, he was such a sporty 9-year-old. He was so talented, all, in the first cricket, rugby, hockey, did cricket, I did tennis and golf, and to suddenly be he was in a wheelchair, he hasn't walked since, to suddenly not be able to do that is quite incredible. I think children are amazing. They, have a different level of acceptance. They are where they are. But I think there was just something a little bit more than that, how I really see it now. Again, I might not have seen it then. I think I thought, thank goodness he is seemingly coping with that. But yeah, it was huge. So we then went to Frenchay Hospital in Bristol for 3 weeks. Again, separated from the other two. luckily they were at a boarding and a day school, so they were able to start boarding. And my parents very much sort of took over, sort of had them at weekends and things. So they were very much supported, and friends were absolutely brilliant. And Benjamin had stabilizing surgery of his lower back. So had that done. Then we were moved to Stoke Mandeville for rehab. So I think from the accident till we came home was 5 months. So we were in hospital for 5 months. So
Wow.
again, huge isolation, you know, again, for a 9-year-old, they did offer sort of schooling in Stoke Mandeville, but, you know, it was very difficult. I think then there were times where I thought, yeah, I can see how this is affecting actually, is the focus, you know, the concentration, very
Mm,
much in your bubble. And there wasn't, I mean, it was sort of said it was sort of a young person's unit, but he was the only child, you know, really the real young child. They were all sort of teenagers, you know, and again, he just adapted and fitted in. And then there was the spinal gym and the sort of table tennis area. And he was just, you know, the life and soul, really. And I remember one time we were walking down the corridors to go down there for recreation time, they called it. And these guys from the main other part of you know, the adult part of the rehab place, said, "Oh gosh, you know, I just want to tell you that your son is what gets us up in the morning. If we're ever thinking we don't want to go on, and we see him in the gym, we see how he's just approaching life. He thinks, well, look at him. He's only 9 and he's doing it." And that was just gorgeous. You know, it was like, wow, you know, the strength that you know, he has, and that he's not sitting there being a victim, you
mm,
know, for me.
mhm,
And I think that's the thing. He is so inspiring. Again, he's just got this aura. His new job he's got, just had his 6-month probation, and his manager said, "I wish I could clone you." And just sort of said, "Yeah, you just got this amazing aura." And I was thinking, yes, I known that. And but for him, you know, as children, they can hear it from somebody else and they really get it, you know.
yes,
So, like,
yes. Don't
and
listen to mum. She's a bit
yeah,
woo woo.
exactly. But he thought, oh, she said, I've got this aura, you know, so I love it. I said, well, I've told you. So yeah, I think a long rehab sort of time came, and I think um coming home was quite a thing. You know, we'd left to go on holiday 5 months previously, and then we came home, you know, for that little boy running around. We came home to a little boy in a wheelchair. So, you know, that was a big thing for
Yeah.
everybody. It
Big
was,
life change.
yeah, absolutely huge. And of course, there were no adaptations in, you know, in the house yet, but we did have a bed downstairs. But again, I remember in the early days of being back home and waking up, and you know, whenever you've got things going on in life, where, you know, in real times of trauma in your life, and you wake up for a moment, you're okay, and then suddenly you remember sort of what's going on. And I
Yes.
know so many people when they've experienced, you know, loss, and on their grief journey, it's like you wake up and for a second you're okay, and then it's, oh my God, I remember where we are and what's happening in my life. And I felt that very much. The fact that he was downstairs as well, and it just everything, you know, it was, yeah, it was really hard. And it's very hard for his brother and sister as well, for everybody, his friends, you know, grandparents, you know, everybody's affected in a different way.
Mm,
Um, and as a mother, you know, it was huge changes to support him, to support his physicalities as well, but also be there for my other two who were grieving in their own way, trying to adapt. My daughter was 14, so she was just going through a very tricky time. I mean, yes, it was a mad time when I think back, actually. But you do just sort of navigate it, really. Um, And we did do some adaptations, put a lift in, but that was it. I think he very much, from that, from the day of the accident to now, doesn't see himself as disabled. He just sees himself as himself, which I think is fabulous, that he hasn't lost himself, which is
How
what
old is he right now?
he's 28 now.
Yeah, so it's quite a
Yeah,
long time ago, but
yeah,
wow. So
exactly.
Lisa, as I'm listening to you talking, and I've worked with a lot of mothers,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing a lot about how it affected your children, but
Mm.
how did it affect you? And when did you get your own time for healing and processing that trauma?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so whilst I was in Stoke Mandeville, yeah, I can't say I was coping well at all. It was a surreal experience. Um, I felt I was in, that old film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson. Because that's how I felt. I felt a bit crazy. And the sounds around you, especially at night. Night I hated. I was, to begin with, on a little put-up bed in his room, but again, it was ever present every minute. And when you're really not coping, um, it was just there. And even though he was coping, I couldn't show that I wasn't coping. I didn't want to show that to him.
Yes.
Um, I just felt I needed to be strong to him. Now, I think it's really good for mothers to be able to show their children how they're feeling. But in that moment, I felt I couldn't. I think maybe I thought, oh gosh, what if I really express it? Am I going to lose it, kind of thing? Can I get back from there? Because I could feel it was so huge. And I remember I used to go into the shower, and I used to just cry. I just used to be a bit hysterical, and the nurses used to come in and almost sort of wanted me to be quiet, because it was a small unit and everybody could hear, and obviously Benjamin could hear. And I remember actually the first time when we moved from the Bristol hospital up to Stoke Mandeville, and two lovely friends were with me, and we went in because Benjamin was taken up in the ambulance, and we drove. So he'd gone up a little bit earlier, but then when I got to into his room, I was physically sick. I had to rush to the basin. And again, he saw, and I was just hysterical. And so my friends just took him off. So I think I just suddenly thought, I don't want to put him in that position. So I think I sort of, yeah, obviously did sort of suppress it. But then, you become very depressed then. And all the noises at night of the adults, that's why I felt it was like a bit like a crazy sort of institution, because it was the patients not dealing well with the new situation they found themselves in. And the thing is, when you're a mother, father, whatever, with your child in the hospital, it's all about the child. Obviously, you're then it's not there for you. So I didn't have the support. But then when they realized that I wasn't coping, I went and saw a clinical psychologist at the hospital. But I used to leave his room feeling absolutely worse and dreadful. It's like, and it's when I talk to clients who, and of course, there's so many different ways we can heal ourselves, and what's right for some people is absolutely perfect for them. But sometimes it's almost like you take the plaster off, and but then you're just left with that open wound, kind of thing. And that's how it felt, talking about it. But there was no sort of where to go with it. So I had a couple of few sessions, and I just thought, no, I can't do this. So then it wasn't until we got home that a dear friend, old friend of mine, said, I think you need to see my friend who now does EFT, and she's a Reiki master. So she got her around for supper, and we just had nice chats, and And I started having sessions with her. And EFT, because matrix imprinting hadn't been,
Mm,
created then, was the saving grace for me. It really was. And yeah, I saw her for every other week for 2 years. So it was just fabulous, it really supported, going through all the different stages. And, she did give my children a few sessions. They weren't really into it. They weren't really ready for it. um, but I brought in other things. I had a friend who did reflexology. So there were other ways to support them. But I think, as we say, always put your own oxygen mask on first. And I think it was so important as the mother, single parent, that I needed to be, present for them.
mm,
And so it was EFT, and we did the movie technique, and all that. And it was just fabulous. And I remember once when quite a few, I don't know, was it 6 months after we got home, and Benjamin had to go up for a few days for rehab, and his father took him, and then I went and took over sort of at the weekend. And I remember walking up to the entrance, and he came to meet me, and I could see him coming along the corridor to let me in because it was security, his little face beaming. And that was the first time that I saw him and not him in a wheelchair. Before, all
right.
I could see was the metal. Um, so I thought, wow, this is incredible. This is really incredible. And my lovely teacher said, you will be doing this one day. And I said, no, I'm just doing it for myself. Anyway, a year later, she trained me in Reiki, angelic Reiki, EFT, and then that was sort of the foundations. But of course, there was sort of ups and downs, and different levels, I suppose, on my journey. That sort of established the foundations, yeah, for me to sort of cope, because there was so much. I think this is what, when people see, and it's not a general thing, but when people see people of any age in a wheelchair, they just think, oh, well, they can't walk. But there's so much more to it. And really, for my son, it's all the sort of like the no control of the lost control of the bladder and the bowels. So having to self-catheterize, do anal irrigation, having no sensation from the waist down. So you've got to be careful of your tissues and getting ulcers and sores. I became very practiced at being, a nurse, really. And I think that is huge. And I think most people would say that is the big thing, that they
Mm,
adapt to not being able to walk.
mm.
But yeah, so I think
It's
that was huge.
everything else that goes along with it.
Exactly that. And of course, he had to have calipers every day. He had to be in his brace, standing frame at school as well. His friends were amazing. They just treated him as Benjamin, and the school were fabulous. They put sort of little stair lifts in on various sort of levels. And sometimes if he'd drop a book while he was going up, and his friends would rush past, and he'd say, oh, could you go and get that, teacher? I've dropped it. And they said, no, go back down again. Go, you'll have to get it. Well, that was so fabulous. It was like treat him normally.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, yeah, I think, oh gosh, there were so many different levels, as say, of what we all went through. Um, but yeah, I think just being able to understand things from from a spiritual perspective. And I think it was like, yeah, I did the matrix re-imprinting, um, matrix birth re-imprinting, which can heal your birth. Started to be able to, and like matrix, obviously, which I love, to be able to really connect from a soul level.
Mm,
um, and then the color bottles, which, as we know, is the spiritual psychology through the lens of color. And I think the color, for me, brought all my modalities together.
yeah.
it's the thread that sort of weaves it through, and especially because of the spiritual psychology. So yeah, that was so empowering for me to be able to think, okay, so it's all happened, um, for my highest good and my soul's purpose. So therefore it's like, wow, gosh, I signed up for this. This is pretty impressive, So it empowers you. You no longer feel the, gosh, in the early days, why me? Why us? It's not fair. All this stuff that you hear when mothers go through, or anybody go through any trauma, and that keeps us stuck. And because you can't see why things have happened. You can't see beyond that. And that's what I absolutely love, to be able to, really support, guide, and empower mothers, wherever they are on their mothering journey. It's the spiritual awakening, through their trauma,
Yeah.
of what it's all about, which I think is so healing. It really is. Yeah.
Wow, what an incredible journey both you and your three children have been on, and also Benjamin. So just like, what does life look like for him now? What is he doing?
Well, he's lived by himself for a long time. He's got his own apartment up in London. All my three children are in London. I'm down in Somerset. But after he left school, he went to college, and then skiing has been one of our biggest passions since we were tiny. I've loved riding all my life, so it's a bit of that analogy, right? Well, if you fall off, you get back on the horse, and that was the one thing I thought after the accident, we cannot lose our passion of skiing. It was such a family thing that brought us together as well, such fun. So 6 months after the accident, I took them skiing with the Uphill Ski Club of Great Britain. That was challenging in itself, because it was suddenly, wow, well, this really is different from how we used to do it. And there was all sorts of, different disabilities and everything. So they suddenly thought, wow, this is a very different world we're living in. But then the following year, I was recommended to go to North America, to Whistler, which is like our spiritual home. I just love it. It's very near Mount Shasta. The energy of the mountains is so special. So that was a huge turning point. And then he became a member of the GB Paralympic development team, and then went on further and started competing. So after school, he went to college and was able to sort of do college, but also go off and compete. They allowed sort of time off. And after he learnt to drive at 16, because you can learn to drive a year earlier when if you've got a disability, he then just took himself off, drove to Austria, all alone, for training. And it was like, wow. And as a mother, again, it's like, gosh, this is huge, but it was so empowering for him. So being with the ski team and doing the World Cup circuit, North America and all that. I mean, it was huge. He's incredible. He flies down the mountain in his mono ski, when they were racing about 80 miles an hour, all the different things, slalom, super G, downhill. So yeah, I think that was part of his healing journey. We all find different things, He didn't necessarily do the therapy route, but skiing was huge, challenging himself. So yeah, they all live in London. He lives in London with his lovely Siamese cat Igor, he adores. And yeah, he's he's just got a new job which he absolutely loves. And he's, yeah, just loves music. He's, finds his own sort of niche of music and his tribe, and still plays golf, tennis, and just, yeah, very, very happy. So yeah, and as are Florence and Oliver, very happy. Florence, my daughter, again, she's a early years consultants, her business. So again, I love the nurturing that she sort of brings, having been on her journey of observing and knowing how important nurturing youngsters are. Yeah. and yes, and Ollie's very happy too. So yeah,
Beautiful.
so
And
it's,
you go on. So
yeah,
it's
as I was saying, it's lovely to see, you know, wow, what is possible. And I think
mm,
that's what's so empowering to share with other mothers, you know, where they might find themselves and what they thought, gosh, you know, what they thought their children's life might be, because obviously then that becomes that loss and grief process with, oh, but
yes,
they're not going to have that now. But yes, but they can have something else, which is going to
yeah,
be fabulous.
beautiful. Oh, Lisa, we
I
could
know.
talk for hours and hours. Um, what are you currently offering people? I know you do workshops, you do one-to-one sessions. So what's your passion right now?
My passion right now is working with mothers, supporting, guiding, and empowering mothers anywhere on their journey, using all my tools. Energetic chef, I feel, because I love cooking as well. Color runs through it the whole time. I teach color, the color mirror system, practitioner, teachers, because I'm a trainer of teachers now. And I run my own workshops. I've created my own bottles, the rose gold bottles. I'll show you. I'll show you one here. Happen to have one here. So there's 9 of them. And again, it's like a little stepping stone journey for people on their mothering journey. And I've also created some Archaea essence. So they're the female archangels. So you've got the divine feminine, the rose gold lady, and then
Wow.
she flows through all of them.
Mm,
So I run the Rose Girl Divine Mothering Journey as a standalone, workshops online, and all my courses are both in person and online. Do one-to-one sessions, as you said. I've got lots of collaborations afoot. But the current courses, I'm starting a Colour Mirrors practitioner in person, 26th of October, is the start date of that.
and that's in your home?
That's in my home, yeah, in gorgeous Somerset. Yeah, it's beautiful here. So yeah, really excited for that. It's going to be over 6 weekends. Um, on the 9th and 10th of November, also here, Janice Thompson, our mutual lovely friend, we're doing Nurture Your Loss and Grief.
Yes, she
Um,
specializes in grief, doesn't she? So yeah.
He does. So we're doing some collaborations, and then 7th and 8th of December in Shrewsbury is another one of those. We're also thinking we're going to bring it online too, so that will be coming probably in the new year. I've got a Teachers of Colour Mirrors course in February. And lots of other collaborations. A good friend of mine who is on my current color practitioner course. She specializes in neurodiverse, and
Mm,
so we're going to be combining our work with mothers in that area and with color, and retreats next May. I'm going to be doing 2 retreats in Galicia with a friend who's does Kundalini, Kundalini Kriya yoga, and again she works with the divine feminine, and I do, and with mothers. So yeah, so lots, Sharon.
lots going on.
Lots.
Lisa, if people wanted to connect with you, find out more information, where would they need to go to?
So it's a mothersawakeningjourney.com is my
Right.
website. It's also that on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube. Um, and it's Lisa at a mothersawakeningjourney.com if you want to email me.
Beautiful. Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up here now because I have a feeling my electricity is about to go.
I said, yeah. Oh, thank you so much for
Gotta
having
love
me.
Thailand.
Oh, and again, thank you so much, because you are a superstar and have been such a support with my work and everything I bring to my work, you know, and all the birth work that I do and support mothers with. Again, it's just it's a joy, having been taught by you and all your
Oh,
justness.
oh, that's amazing. Just you being my friend. So I'm very honoured, and Lisa, thank you so much for being who you are and the work that you do. So
Oh, thank you so much, Sharon.
you're welcome. Thank you for listening. Alrighty, if you found this really helpful, then please like and share this video, and also join the Magical New Beginning podcast, because we got lots of amazing people coming on the podcast, a lot more amazing friends like Lisa. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Lisa.
Oh, thank you.